So, welcome back to the Dogs and Deadlifts podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Rose, and today we've got a special guest for you. But before we get into that, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Cemented some really positive and exciting news this week in regards to my partnership with Firepaw Treadmills. Super excited about this partnership and alignment, and that will also move into the new online program called Driven to Move. For all that information, I'm going to put it in the podcast show notes, but also you can head over and get yourself some little gifts and some discounts on the Firepaw website using my discount code. But that's enough of that. Let's talk to Shantell from Canine Cardio Hawaii. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Look, I appreciate you finding the time. Sometimes, with podcast guests, it's a little bit, it's really tricky, finding a certain time. So it's currently almost midday here. So I thank you that I didn't have to get up at 1 a.m. in the morning or something like crazy like that to have a
Yeah,
chat.
the time difference is a little crazy between us, but I'm glad we were able to make it work.
For sure. So let's get rolling. Like I said, thank you for taking the time to be here. Can you, for the listeners, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Yeah, how you got started.
Sure. So, I originally am from Arizona, but as the business name says, I live in Hawaii now. So I grew up in Arizona on a farm, but my passion was always in marine biology. So at 21, I decided to move to Hawaii and pursue that dream. I became a marine mammal trainer briefly at Sea Life Park here. But I realized pretty quickly that the training was really fun and I enjoyed that a lot, but the entertainment side of it really wasn't for me. So I enrolled in school here to be a marine biologist, but I still had to pay the bills. And because I didn't want to keep training marine mammals, I got a job at a vet clinic. And I fell in love with the work that I did there. I've been very fortunate that I've had some really awesome people in my life because of it, and it's really put me where I am today. I was able to become a registered veterinary technician here a couple years ago. So I've been working in the field for over a decade now, but credentialed for several years now. So while I loved the vet work side of it, I still had that love for the training.
Mhm.
So in my free time, I joined a French ring club here, and I trained French ring, and I still do.
Yeah, awesome. I guess it's a little bit, Hawaii, US is a little bit different in regards to, how you process or how you go through school and become a vet tech or a vet nurse here in Australia. So it's really interesting. And just on a side note, I'm a huge outrigger canoe fan. I spent about 7 years doing outrigger canoe and absolutely loved it. But where I've relocated to now in the last 4 or 5 years, there's no ocean and there's certainly no outrigger canoeing. So that's one of those things that I miss. I miss the ocean and I miss outrigger canoeing.
I've lived here for, oh geez, I think I just hit 13 years. And I don't know that I could ever live somewhere without an ocean again.
Yeah, yeah. It's between the ocean and outriggering and stand-up paddleboarding. That was my life. Obviously dogs as well, but we would spend quite a fair bit of time at the beach doing
Oh
those two activities. Any free time that I had, because I owned a doggy daycare, dog training, dog grooming center. Any spare time, it was outrigging and stand-up paddleboarding.
yeah. Same when I'm not working, I'm either working dogs or at the beach.
Yeah, for sure. How did things? I'm going to jump back into business for a moment. How did Canine Cardio Hawaii how did that sort of mature or manifest from vet tech to Canine Cardio Hawaii? Can you explain that process?
Yeah, so I had I mean, I guess as any great business does, I had a personal need that needed to be fulfilled, and there was not a solution to my problem, so I created the solution.
Mhm.
So I had, because I'm a French ring advocate, I
Mhm.
had purchased a working line German Shepherd puppy, and was working her up in French ring. So obviously she's got a lot of drive, she's got a lot of needs.
Hmm.
And I still worked full time as a vet tech. I still do. And at the time, my roommate and best friend had also adopted a Corso puppy that was about a year old. So put my Shepherd at about a year and a half old. And my roommate went to another island for the weekend to go see some friends and family. And while she was there, she broke her leg.
Hmm.
So she was not able to come home for the next 6 to 8 weeks until she was comfortable enough to fly. And so I was left with my own crackhead puppy plus her puppy, who was still pretty high energy, even at 90 pounds. And I was working full time, and I did not have the energy or the time to fulfill both of their needs.
Hmm.
Um, as I say with L Shepherds, they come, pretty standard with dog reactivity, and mine was no exception to that.
Yeah.
At a year old, it was pretty intense, and so I couldn't just hire a dog walker to come walk her around the neighborhood. Going to the beach, we're dealing with blowout diarrhea for 2 days. Doggy daycare was not an option for these two dogs, so I really just didn't have a solution, and it was a struggle for me to meet the needs of both those dogs during that time that she was gone. And then even when she came back and she was on crutches and in a wheelchair, there was still, she can't take the dog on walks. She can't take
Hmm.
it to the park. And I was like, man, it would really be nice to have something that, a service that could come to my home and exercise my dog safely while I'm at work and I don't have to worry.
Hmm.
And at the time, that did not exist. So I was like, well, what's a great, safe, effective way to exercise dogs? Slat mills.
Yeah.
I'd seen videos online, they're becoming more and more popular. And I said, you know what? Nobody here is doing it. Maybe I should.
Hmm.
And the canine cardio was born.
Yeah, awesome. And a lot of people, and sometimes myself included, just jump in, but did you do yourself, research in regards to, obviously not, I'll be honest here, not all slat mills are built equally, business, income, that sort of stuff, business projections, etc. Did you sort of dive deep into that sort of rabbit hole?
I probably didn't dive as deeply as I should have,
Hmm. Yeah.
to be honest.
Mhm.
I am also a pretty impulsive person myself. So I
Mhm.
had this idea and I had to run with it. In my gut, I knew this was what I needed to do. Like I mentioned before, I've been in vet med for over a decade now. And so I'm kind of ready for that new chapter in my life.
Mhm.
So I needed something that I could start doing part time while I kind of weaned myself out of vet med slowly. So I did start with a little bit of research. Obviously, the first thing I needed to look at was my equipment. So I just started gathering all of the information I could on slat mills. So I joined a bunch of Facebook groups. I listened to podcasts, and one of the most helpful ones I listened to was yours that you did with Mickey and Woofer Wagon. And that podcast was actually the reason I chose a Firepaw Slat mill as my first mill because she had mentioned how much research she had done and how great of a mill these guys produced. And
Mhm.
Firepaw was the name that kept coming back over and over and over again. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it right, I need to start with something that's good quality and going to see me through for a while. So I purchased a Firepaw.
Yeah, awesome. And shout out to Woofer Wagon. And that conversation was probably what, 2 years now, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah. While
Yeah, maybe 2 years ago, and that was it was a fantastic insight in regards to how she got started, and the exposure that the not just the television, the newspaper. There's been a lot of fantastic positive promotion around that here in Australia as well. But
awesome.
you're certainly right, though. In the last, let's just say, 3 years, there's been certainly a lot of but a lot of hype, a lot of research, a lot of development in this space, and some people, small owner operators, and then we've got some, bigger, larger companies that are, have multiple vans on the road, etc. And they appear to be doing quite well as well. So, my goal over the next few months is to have a few people on, such as yourself, to discuss how they got started, background, things like that. And we'll talk about some great positive stuff, but also, some hurdles and some, particularly some adversity that, that people might have struck in their journey, But the key is that for me, if you're passionate enough and you love it, just stick with it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're going to run into adversity with pretty much anything you do in life. It's just,
Hmm.
it comes with the territory. And especially when you're dealing with, dogs on exercise equipment, it's not everybody's going to see the positives in it. And there's going to
Hmm.
be a lot of naysayers.
Hmm.
And honestly, I just believe, like with anything, it's client education.
Hmm.
Hawaii is always a little bit behind the times, I like to say.
Yeah, yeah.
So, mobile gyms are popping up all over the US and becoming pretty popular, but a lot of people in Hawaii, this is their first time ever seeing or hearing of something like this or a slat mill. So it's
Hmm.
completely foreign and new to them.
Hmm.
Thankfully, the community here has been extremely supportive, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah.
Everybody here has been very excited to try it and see if their dog can run and how well
Hmm.
they do and how fast they can go. Yeah, so I've been very fortunate here for sure.
Yeah, and something that if you're familiar with my podcast over the last couple of years, etc. I'm big around education as well. So I believe and I strongly am passionate about not just business owners, but people that are buying slat mills, etc. Get really solid understanding of how it can be used and how the benefits, injury prevention, warm ups, cool downs, and really, I'm very passionate, as I mentioned, around educating around that sort of space. It's all well and good that you might go and buy a Timu special timber slat mill and then just run your dog on it as fast as you can with no programming or no idea, and then next minute they're limping, or they have to have TPLO surgery, surgery, or they've done a psoas or something along those lines, right? And
And that's one of the benefits I like to mention to people is, yes, I am a canine fitness coach, but I also
mm,
spent many, many years in veterinary medicine. So even if your dog is on the mill and I start to see a limp, I can pay attention to those subtle little things. And I've
mm,
even seen caught things like broken teeth or little lumpy bumpies on dogs that owners didn't know were there. So
yeah,
it's, it's a benefit for sure that I've kind of got that eye that I can help
yeah, for
with
sure.
those.
100%. And I talk about that in a lot of my courses around developing that critical eye from a coach point of view. The critical eye that will notice the small little things, and have them investigated. Whilst we're not veterinary surgeons, etc. But we can certainly recommend. We're not physios, we're not rehab technicians, etc. But we certainly recommend if we don't quite see something that sits well, including I'm big on gait analysis. you
Yep.
know?
Yep. I
um,
my veterinary career in horses, so
mm,
very familiar with gait
yeah,
analysis.
for sure. So educating yourself, whether you're an owner or an established business owner, just educating yourself and then therefore passing that on, right? Um,
Exactly.
so awesome. So Canine Cardio started. It's been fantastic reception. How's you've how did I guess did you was it just word of mouth? Did you do some free demos? What sort of how did you get it
A,
kicked off?
yeah, a little bit of everything, I guess. I haven't really done a ton of quote unquote advertising.
Hmm.
I run out of a trailer and I don't even have my logo on my trailer yet. That's
Hmm.
kind
Yeah.
of where I'm at. So we're
Yeah.
getting there, hopefully next weekend. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got my Firepaw mill
Hmm.
and I did a couple demos at some fast cat trials that we held here. I took the mill out, let people try it for free,
Yeah.
put their hands on it, see how it works, things like that.
Yeah.
And then I started offering runs out of my home at a discounted rate until I ended up running out of a trailer.
Hmm.
So I had to purchase a trailer in Arizona where my family member was and ship it over. So in that kind of in between window, I just offered runs at my home
Hmm.
and got a couple great clients there that are still running with me now. So shout out to those guys, my
Hmm.
OGs.
Hmm.
And then yeah, once the trailer showed up, I got everything set up and started running dogs in there. And I've picked up a few more clients, and I've gotten a little bit better at the social media part.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've had a couple of videos do pretty well. And I think
Hmm.
some of my business has come through Instagram or word of mouth pretty
Hmm.
much.
Yep, yep. Do you want to just? I know that I've seen some. You post up in a particular group around. Before you bought the trailer, you bought a. Did you buy a van or a bus?
Did. I had a 14 passenger like shuttle bus type thing,
Hmm.
and oh, I'm so very sad about it. So it was actually purchased in Texas.
Hmm.
My brother was on a work trip there for a long weekend and came across it on Marketplace and went and looked at it, and he's like, this is exactly what you need. And I was like, okay.
Hmm.
Sent him the money. This poor thing, he drove it home from Texas to Arizona in like over 100 degrees. The AC wasn't working. The tires were bad on it. We had to throw 6 new tires on it before we could even drive it home. So it was, I call it a labor of love for him.
Hmm.
He spent a lot of time on and money on it. The motor blew while he was working on it, getting it ready to send here. It was a lot. It was a lot of frustrations. And then I was like, okay, we're getting to the end of all of the work that needed to be done to it. I had my mills sent to Arizona to be installed. Like it was supposed to show up and be ready to hit the road.
Yep.
And in those kind of final stages, I was like, all right, now I'm going to contact the shipping company and start getting quotes on the shipping process and dates and start finalizing that. And that's when I found out it was going to be about 10 grand to ship it just from California to Hawaii. And I said,
No.
I'm already at I was budgeting for maybe 5 or 6 grand. I was not prepared for 10. And
Yep.
with the motor blowing and all the other stuff that we added onto the bus to, make it right for me, I was at the max end of my budget already. And I just unfortunately could not swing that amount of money. So
Hmm.
my brother does still have the bus. I go home and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I really wish I could just bring it with, but no, she's got to stay there. So she is up for sale. So if anybody's in the market for a nice shuttle bus, I do
On,
have sale.
on next minute, your brother will be opening a mobile dog gym in
Yeah,
Arizona.
told him. I said you should think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, mother.
Yeah. So then you just got the mills shipped over on their own.
So once the bus was kind of decided that it can't come, we decided that the trailer was the next best option. I was really worried about, my budget only allowed for something that was used in the
Mhm.
vehicle world.
Yeah.
So I was really concerned not having my brother as the mechanic here. If something were to happen to my van or my bus, that I would be down and out of business. So he
Mhm.
said, you know what, let's skip all of that since I'm not there, and let's do something that you don't have to worry about a motor
Mhm.
breaking down on. Let's just do a trailer. They're way cheaper. You've got more room. You can haul it with any car.
Mhm.
And as much as I did not want to pull a trailer here, if you've ever been to Hawaii, anybody listening, you'll know that the roads here are not really designed for trailers.
Mhm.
They're very narrow, very bumpy, pretty rough roads. And I had never driven a trailer. So looking forward to it, but at that point I didn't have a choice. If I wanted to continue to do this, then I
Mhm.
needed to pivot and I needed to do a trailer.
Mhm.
So a trailer locally was going to be more expensive than buying one brand new in Arizona where he was and having it shipped over.
Mhm.
So thankfully I still had my mills
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
lovely brother. So he went and got the trailer for me and installed the mills, wired it with lighting and a mini split AC, got it all ready, put her on a boat, and shipped her over.
Yeah, awesome. And it's often something that I get asked quite a lot actually. Do I buy a van or do I buy a trailer, right? It's one of the most common things. I know that people have spent on a brand new van here in Australia, like $60,000, right? And then mills, business, etc. on top, So I know people that have spent up to $90,000 to get this business kicked off, right? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, for a
Yeah.
how do we, for me, that's a bit more than an investment that I wanted to, be comfortable with, right?
Same,
Yeah,
same.
However, you could get a brand new trailer for 15 to 20,000. That's Australian dollars. Much cheaper, in the US. But that the argument was then around where do you live? What is your location like? There's a proven many years of mobile dog wash trailers, right?
Yep.
It's a proven system of in many locations around the world and franchises, etc., around hooking up a trailer and doing mobile dog wash.
Yep.
So, so there's got to be an option for, a mobile dog gym in a trailer, right? It doesn't have to cost you $60,000 entry fee. And like I said, going back, the argument was, well, I'm in the city, it's easier to drive a van and pull up in the driveway than it is trying to back a reverse to trailer. There's pros and cons, right? It really depends, this is how I see it, on your location and what your target market is and what your roads are like, as you mentioned. Can you pull up out the front? Do people have grassed areas, driveways, etc.? What's your location like is really you can for me the most important thing around van or trailer.
Yeah. And again, yeah, Hawaii's not really set up for trailers. I
Hmm.
only plan on upgrading to a van or a bus when I can afford it, but
Yeah.
I've made the trailer work so far.
Hmm.
I worry every time I go to a client's house, I make sure I Google map their address and
Yeah.
kind of plan my route. Is there a roundabout? Is there, a one way? Is it an in and out? Is there going to be enough room to park? What does Google Street View parking look like?
Hmm.
There's a lot of very tight, narrow roads here. People park on both sides in neighborhoods.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's been some couple tight spaces I've had to get in, but thankfully I'm getting a lot better at driving the trailer.
100%. And I think it's just a matter of practice and exposure, etc., and doing some research for sure. 100%. There's no doubt that, with a vehicle, a car or a truck and then a trailer, you need a lot of additional space. And yeah,
Yeah.
people can get stuck.
Yeah, I'm. My thought process has been if I can get in, I can get out. But I'm sure
Yeah.
that'll come a day that I'll be a little stuck. But for now, if anybody's worried or if they're on too steep of a hill, I
Hmm.
tell them, there's a park nearby. Let's just meet at the park. And I've had no issues with that, or down the street or something like that. Everything's been
Yeah.
really awesome. So
Yeah, for sure. And I also like, I've done a couple of pop-ups as well, so I've worked with vets and pet shops and things like that, and they've always generally have nice open car spaces, etc., and taken the mill down there and done a number of pop-ups, and once again, people come to us, so therefore it was just it's a little bit easier, right?
yeah, definitely. I do offer discounted runs too. If they come to me at
Hmm.
my home base, then they're a little bit cheaper. Then I don't have to drive my trailer around and deal with parking and all that. So
Yeah,
I also offer that as an option for people that maybe don't have space anywhere near their house
yeah.
that they can just come to me.
Yeah. So has once again just a number of different questions, but has the reception from veterinarians and pet shops how has that been towards you?
It's been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I thankfully am very, involved in the veterinary community here and know a lot of really awesome veterinarians and vet techs and veterinary assistants. So everybody's been incredibly supportive. So um, I wouldn't say I've really reached any adversity or like naysayers here quite
Hmm.
yet.
Hmm.
Um, I'm still pretty new in the game, so my plan is to go around and formally introduce myself to all the clinics on island and let them know that this is a service I offer.
Hmm.
The veterinarians especially see a lot of overweight dogs that need a little extra help. So I've had a couple people come in that need weight loss programs and stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so yeah, the veterinarians have been extremely supportive of the business and the business idea itself
Hmm.
for sure. And even the doggy daycares are like, this is wonderful. If we can't take dogs because of the rain or the weather or whatever, or even though we have dogs, we're an indoor facility, we still want to add this as a optional thing that they can come and do. So it's been very awesome here. Very
Hmm.
thankful for the community here.
Yeah, for sure. And your French Ring Club, how have they been with it? As good as well?
Oh, they're wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, for
Of course,
sure.
I bring the trailer to club on the weekends and everybody runs their dogs for a little warm up or cool down. So,
Yep.
yeah, they've been awesome.
For sure. And I guess, we're in we're still, I say we're still in early foundations of this, mobile dog gym, and it feels early, but I've been at it for years, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, Run Buddy Mobile
Hmm.
in originally Arizona, I think was the first to do it, and I think he's been in the
Yeah,
game for
yeah,
like over 10 years
yeah,
now.
for sure. That's right. And I think he's got a number of vans on the
Yeah,
road as well, So, it just feels like there's been an influx of interest and inquiries, et cetera, in the last 2 to 3 years, right? I've been at this for quite some time.
yeah.
I imported, and it's funny, I imported a slat mill probably 10 years ago from the Philippines, and it was a piece of shit. And, it was terrible. And I was actually very thankful that I received it because others didn't receive theirs, right? After they paid for them, etc., they never received them. And yeah, the quality of your Firepaw mills and some of the other top leading brands is just so far advanced now. I think we've still got a little way to go. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see things like, obviously we've got speedos, distance, etc. But I'd love to see some sort of, heart rate monitor so we can really dial in a
Yeah,
pro,
same.
some sort of dialing our workouts and our programs to know where we are
Yeah,
and what we're actually doing. So I think there's still a lot to go in regards to that sort of stuff. But we're
100%.
one step at a time, Daniel. I keep on saying myself.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. We will get there, but yeah.
For sure. So, with all these apps and stuff these days, I think someone just needs to, they're using it in the horse world, etc. That it just needs to be adapted. And I think that it would be a game changer in regards to our fitness and conditioning programs
Oh yeah.
for dogs.
Yeah, we'd be able to do things. I mean, slap mills are already great and we're doing great things with them, but
Hmm.
we could totally take our workouts for these dogs to the next level and really just kind of like you said, like pinpoint their workouts and see exactly what we need to change where and how
Hmm.
and really fine tune those kind of things.
Yeah, for sure. And I get a little bit geekier in around that sort of stuff, and look, it's just a matter of time, just we've got to spend the time doing the foundations and building it up, building the education, building the awareness, and I think it's really, really important to have conversations like this, and therefore people can, around the world can have a listen. And I'm hoping to get a few more other guests on and spread the word over the next, like I said, over the next few months. But I wanted to just sort of shift just briefly around, I noticed you're doing some great social media stuff. And I think these days, there's, as much as we are dog trainers, fitness coaches, etc., there's an element of business that we really need to have a minimum standard of social media presence, right?
Fortunately, yes.
I know, I know. Sometimes we're content creators. That's how I see myself, right? I train dogs, but at the end of the day, if nobody sees it, nobody comes to me, And you've done some great things, and I noticed one of your videos had a million odd views. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I was not prepared for the content creator part of this job.
Hmm.
I'm gonna be honest. I
Yeah.
thought I would just get my trailer and run dogs and have fun and enjoy my job, but I think I spend more time creating content than I do actually running dogs,
Hmm.
and it's not my favorite thing. I have a couple of videos now that are over 1 million views, so I've got a couple good ones, but
Yep.
yeah, it's not my favorite part for sure, but it's
Hmm.
definitely a necessary evil.
Hmm.
I wish I had somebody that I could just kind of pawn that work off on and like, here's all my content, all my videos that I film, turn it into something cool, post it online so I don't have to think about it, deal with it.
Yep.
Um, but unfortunately, I'm not at that stage in this business yet. So
Hmm.
I'm wearing all the hats right now.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm very fortunate that I've had a couple of videos do pretty well on Instagram and TikTok.
Hmm.
And gotten several clients from those, which I was never prepared for. I
Hmm.
did not think that a Instagram video would generate clients, but here we are.
100%. And on that, I guess something that stands out to me, the first thing that I noticed, obviously, is your dog. Nice, very nice German Shepherd that runs very well on the mill. The other thing is you have a bright, I'm going to swear here for a moment, a bright fucking pink Slat mill, which obviously is in line with your business colors, etc., right? But this beautiful German Shepherd on a really bright pink slat mill, people can't scroll past those two things, right?
Yeah. Well, and you can just tell in those videos, she's just so excited.
Hmm.
The first couple of videos, we just kind of let her run in, jump up on the mill, and we do our best to hook her up while she's running because she's just
Hmm.
so amped.
Yep.
But lately, mom and I have been working on her impulse control because she's
Hmm.
so overly excited. It's difficult to get her hooked into the mill. So
Yep.
we're working. If you saw one of the more recent videos that was also kind of viral, we were waiting to take the leash off until she was a little calmer and then slowly clipping
Hmm.
her into the mill and then releasing her to go. But
Yep.
she's a very awesome dog, super cool, super fun.
Yep.
Um, Really unique in the fact that she needs no motivation. You pull out a
Hmm.
ball and she'll slow down. You offer her anything and she just slows down. She doesn't
Hmm.
want anything around her. She just wants to run. So
Yeah. Yeah.
she's really fun.
And that's awesome because you know some dogs take a little while as we know, take a little while to get into it. I've got a Dutch Shepherd and a Malinois here, and the Dutch Shepherd, they're both the same age. She's just happy trotting along, big smile on her face. Look at me prancing around. Where he's like, hook me in, let's go. We're not here to mess around. We're here to get this shit done.
Yep,
Um,
exactly. We kind of get
whereas
them all.
100%, and that's it's fantastic. And they're obviously high drive dogs, but we've got Labradoodles, we've got Labradors, we've got you name it, Beagles, Australian cattle dogs, Kelpies, you name it, jumping on them and having a fantastic time, right?
Yeah, I've even had Chihuahuas and Min
Mm-hmm.
Pins and
Mm-hmm.
Shih Tzus and Maltese, like these tiny little dogs, couple
Yeah.
pounds maybe, that try them out at events and stuff. And they
Mm-hmm.
do get them moving. I give it, I shout out to Firepaw that these mills are,
Yeah.
they're pretty easy to move. Even these little dogs can do it. So
Yeah.
I tell people I don't really have a weight limit. I say, over 20 pounds is
Mm-hmm.
probably best, but
Yeah.
even these couple pound dogs are able to do it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to double back. Well, I don't want to give it too much time of day, but certainly, with the viral videos comes the keyboard warriors, the negative keyboard warriors, right? And that's something that you're not the only one to experience that, But I just want to give it a very brief moment because I don't want to, give these people any sort of too much energy, etc. But you know, can you tell us a little bit about what you experienced?
yeah, I mean, of course, pretty much any mobile dog gym or slat mill video you see is going to be these
Mhm.
people that are on there saying, oh, you just need to walk your dog, or this is abuse, or,
Mhm.
they just don't understand. So, my first line of defense is usually education, right? These
Mhm.
are non motorized, self propelled mills. These dogs are not forced to run, they can stop anytime they want.
Mhm.
This is 100% at will by these dogs, and a lot of them don't listen, keep going and perpetuate that, and that's fine. There's no such thing as bad publicity. All publicity is good, right? So
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
them commenting and engaging with me is still engagement and views on my videos, and so I'm not complaining about it.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, you're not alone, but I understand, and I've had people come to me and it's it's made them feel a certain way, and once again, I just reiterate the fact that we need to be resilient. We know that we're doing the right thing. Our clients are happy. Some of these are also AI bots as well. We've got to remember around that. People can set up certain keywords, etc., to impact you in a negative way, right? But the most important thing that I tell people is we need to be resilient. We know we're doing the right thing by these dogs, these people, and the positive impact that we have is a huge ripple effect. So.
Exactly. And there's so many uses for them. I've had
Mhm.
dogs that come and use my service before they travel on a plane so that they're a little calmer, more relaxed. Dogs that
Mhm.
come before a vet visit and use it so that they're a little, less anxious at the vet. So there's a lot of different applications for this. The weight loss, the
Mhm.
post surgery, return to exercise that needs to be slow and controlled. There's a lot of different applications for
Mhm.
these machines because they're non motorized that really are just, the possibilities are endless. And the keyboard warriors are, never going to see that side of it. They just think, go walk your dog. And you know what, I would if I could run 20 miles an hour to keep up with them. But I also think that these dogs just are kept in a kennel, come out and are forced to run on these mills and then slammed back in a kennel. And that's not what these dogs are like at all. Their lives are like at all. They're, they get to go to the beach, they get to go on hikes, they get to go run off leash at parks. But yeah, there are those few dogs that I've had that, don't have those options because they're aggressive or reactive or can't be off leash because they don't have a recall. I had a client recently that came to me because she just adopted a dog. And she said, I don't know what this dog is like to go to a dog park and let her interact with other dogs. I don't know what she doesn't know me well enough for me to go and take her off leash somewhere. She doesn't even hardly know her name. And she's got all this energy and my yard isn't big enough for her. And I want to give her that outlet. So again, there's a lot of different applications for it. And yeah, the keyboard warriors are just, they're going to be what they are.
Exactly. That's right. So, but I just wanted to make sure, and this is something out there for all mobile dog gym owners. You're not alone, and it pops up, it pops up.
Go to any of my videos and read the comments and you'll see you're not alone.
That's right. But, we move forward, we're resilient, we keep bouncing back, and like I said, for me, it's around the impact and the ripple effect. I'm sitting here in Australia in a little town in Australia that, you're in Hawaii. I've got people in the UK, London, US, all over the world, listening into, to my podcast around slat mills, fitness, education, man trailing, whatever it may be, right? And the reach is the positive reach, and something that I didn't realize, and you don't realize that, you mentioned it earlier. I didn't have a clue that you listened to my podcast, and that the Woofle Wagon podcast was a defining moment for you, right? Here I am going, fuck, I don't know, I'm pretty shitty today. I don't know, I've only had X amount of downloads or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't know the impact or the ripple effect that you have, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's fantastic for me to hear, because it just keeps on driving me forward to have these conversations, to spread the word, to create more online programs around slat mills, around drag work, fitness conditioning, whatever it may be. So thanks very much for for telling me that, because I had no idea, right?
Yes, I've had a couple of people reach out to me recently that are like, "Oh, I want to start a gym, a mobile dog gym, and wanting advice." And, I've had a couple of people reach out about thinking about doing trailers and my thoughts on the trailer. And so I'm happy to answer anybody's questions if they want to DM me or reach out to me on any of my social media platforms. I'm more than happy to send pictures of my setup and measurements and ideas and whatever else you want.
Yeah, for sure. Because, once again, I believe in community, and, so something that I will just mention. So the dog training world, I've been a dog trainer for 20 odd years, right? More. And, it's sad to see the split in regards to methods, philosophies, equipment, etc. So I generally tell my guests on this podcast that I don't care, and we're not interested in dog training philosophies and or equipment, etc. We don't talk about that shit, right? We're here to talk about fitness, conditioning, and that's it. Positive only, negative balance, whatever. Like it's not hasn't got a place here, right? But it's really sad that I see a split, people hating each other, like really getting very nasty around things, and I want to build a community here, Dogs and Deadlifts community, around positive people doing really, really cool shit with their dogs that can share information. Hey, I got a trailer, and I got this, I got that, I got a firepaw. This dog, I'm having trouble getting this dog moving on the mill, or motivated, or what have you tried? What have I tried? Like, let's build a community. I'm doing a very similar thing with the man trailing community as well, right? So that's my other passion. But having like-minded people to come together to talk, I apologize if I swear, but to talk shit, to support each other, and around the world. Having a conversation with you're in Hawaii, I'm in Australia. Like, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think I I would have made some of the decisions I made without some of that community.
Hmm.
I joined a Facebook group and asked a lot of questions in there, made a lot of posts in there, and I'm still fairly active in that group.
Hmm.
I reached out to a company called Rover Runner about their trailer. They were one of the ones I saw that was running with a trailer, and trying to get ideas for measurements and their mill sizes and everything else. And the owner was super helpful and super nice.
Yep.
And she's the reason that I went with the size trailer that I went with,
Hmm.
because I was trying to figure out, what size mills do you have and how much extra floor space do you have once the mills are in, and
Hmm.
how is the toe and everything else. And she was really awesome and super helpful. So that community has definitely helped me build my business for sure. Your podcast about the Firepaw
Yep.
Slat mills with Woofer Wagon. Yeah, I don't think I could have done this without the community, and I'm sure I'm going to continue to lean on them as we go, because I am still a fairly new business.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and
it's
but
more
it's
blessings for sure.
but it's exciting times, I love seeing startups, and people just stick with it, because
Yeah.
I think, I seen something on a poster that, we potentially we fail, then we succeed, right? So just keep going at it. That's how I see it.
Yeah. I hope so.
For sure, for sure. But sometimes it just doesn't, we're not an overnight success.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So, we're coming to the end of our time. So, if people have liked this conversation, how do they go about? We've talked about reaching out to you on social media. Can you tell us about where they'd go, or what's the name of your social medias, or the email best
Yeah.
contact?
So I'm most active on my Instagram. I'm trying to be better about Facebook, but
Hmm.
I for some reason my videos were not automatically uploading to Facebook, so I just posted like 10 all in one day to catch up. But
Hmm.
I'm pretty active on TikTok. That's where I edit my videos and then upload them before I put them on Instagram. So
Hmm.
TikTok and Instagram, I'm pretty active. I respond to my messages quicker on Instagram than anything
Hmm.
else. My phone number's on my website. You can also text me at that phone number. That's my work number. So I'm pretty open on all things. My Instagram is at Canine Cardio Hawaii, all spelled out. And then same with my Facebook, it's Canine Cardio Hawaii. And then my actual website is caninecardiohawaii.com, also all spelled out. So yeah, my email I think is all on there, caninecardiohawaii@gmail.com.
Hmm.
Any of the information you want to know about my business or any other info about me, I put in the about section in the website. So all that information's online.
Yeah, awesome. So, Chantel, thank you very much for joining me here today on the Dogs and Deadlifts podcast. It's been a pleasure having you here, and hopefully, we can catch up in a little while, and progress this conversation even more. So,
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you so much for having me.
oh, not a problem at all. So, for the listeners out there today, if you've liked what you heard, please give us a like, subscribe, and share, because this is super important to us. And as I mentioned, we want to create a community of like-minded people that have either using slat mills or have started or created a mobile dog gym. But that's it for today. Thank you very much.